In this lesson, we're going to explore the complicated relationship between King Henry VIII and Sir Thomas More. Hopefully you recognize this painting of Thomas More from somewhere on campus. Thomas More and Henry were incredibly close, and More was one of Henry's most trusted advisors until July 6, 1535, when More is executed for treason against the king and queen. So how do we go from being boys to off with his head? As you know, during Henry's reign, the Reformation begins on the continent. And as you recall, England was a good Catholic country. When Martin Luther hammers his 95 Theses to All Saints Catholic Church in Saxony, the first social media, he literally posted this to his wall. He sets off debate about the role of religion in politics, as well as in individuals' lives. Some princes jumped at the opportunity to eliminate Rome's influences in their realms. Henry did not. He wrote a treatise in defense of the seven sacraments, most likely written by More in 1521. This would have been a pretty quick response back then. It isn't like he could just Snapchat a quick retort back to him. Pope Leo, in response, awards Henry with the title Defensor Fidei, Defender of the Faith. What is interesting about More's response to Luther is that the year before Luther posted his theses, More had written Utopia. Utopia is about an imaginary island in the New World that the narrator, More, learns about from an eyewitness, Raphael. On the island, priests can marry, women can be priests, people of different faiths worship in the same temple. The temple has no images, stained glass, or statues. Sounds pretty Protestant. And the greatest crime is trying to forcibly convert someone to your faith. The narrator seems very sympathetic to the ways of this world that on the surface contradict much of the Catholic faith. Take a moment to pause and write down how you reconcile More's polemic against Luther with his text Utopia that seems to advocate many of the reforms that Luther hoped to see. A further complication when considering More's Utopia comes from his response to Henry VIII's plans for a divorce. Recall that Henry wanted to divorce Catherine and marry Anne Boleyn. Originally, Thomas More as Lord Chancellor, which was loosely equivalent to a combination of our Attorney General and Chief Justice, sided with Henry in his desire for a divorce. But in 1534 and 35, Henry VIII's Parliament passed the Acts of Supremacy and the Oath of Supremacy. All subjects were expected to swear allegiance to the king as both head of state and of the church. Pause now and read the Act of Supremacy and the Oath of Supremacy that are in your course packet. Today, we have examples of such centralization of power. Obviously, they don't work out well for the citizens. In large part, separation of church and state in the United States comes from first-hand experience of the terror of having state affairs tied to affairs of conscience. Thomas More chose to not respond when the oath was put before him. He did not deny the oath, but he did not take it. He also refused to attend the coronation of Queen Anne Boleyn. As a result, Henry felt he had to make an example of Thomas, and he was executed by beheading. His final words were, "The king's good servant, but God's first." So it seems that we end this lesson even more confusedly than we started. We have to think about how we can reconcile Thomas More, who would write Utopia, Thomas More, who would write a treatise against Martin Luther, and Thomas More, who was willing to die as the king's good servant, but God's first. I'd like you to now go to your Google form and fill out responses to the questions there.